Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our 2 week Women's History series. All we do is win. This is our series going to discipline about software engineering, and just we like to make sure that you have a slideshow. We want to showcase the beautiful things that we're doing here. So again, I say welcome. But just for an intro, my name is Dominique. By day, I'm working with Mentor Me as the People's Operation Manager. By night, I'm trying to sleep in bed. I'm not going to even hold y'all. This evening, I'll be your host for this episode and series, Interview Like a Pro. But really quickly, I would like to know, just in the comment section, how many of you have interviewed as a software engineer? What was your experience like? And even if you haven't, that's cool. Because guess what? We're going to learn tonight about all that. I'm repping NYC. I hope everybody from all over will say where they're from. We want to see you. We want to see you where every one of y'all. So again, we went through the greetings. See? And guess what? We want to make sure that you are tagging us into these events, just sharing with your friends. As my CEO always says, tell a friend to tell a friend. Remember, each one is to teach one. And again, we're celebrating some of the greatest Black women in tech currently as just an introduction to our series. So we want to shout them out. We want to thank them for being part of the community, and we want them thank them for continuing to educate us in everything that we're doing. And so we would like for y'all to tell us where y'all are. Are you in school, boot camp, self-learning? Are you applying for your first role? Or are you growing and glowing in your career? No matter which one that you are, these are all good points to be in, because at the end of the day, you made the decision to go forward with whatever that you wanted to do. Oh, wait, let me take a moment to hype up this event. This one is like one of our real big babies that's coming up. This is for Combos in Color with Women History Month. We're partnering up with Adobe. You'll be able to shoot your shot up with recruiters. You'll be able to get, some interesting questions and insights. So please, I hope that y'all have your resumes, your question ready. I hope y'all ready for a career change, because this is your month. This is your time to shine. And so before we jump in, I just want to take you through a couple of slides where you'll meet the team. You'll hear about our mentorship program, how to come into our text reminders, a little about the Etsy shop and our wares, and finally, our Women's History giveaway. And as you can see, we have these lovely faces here. We have the lovely Chanel, who is our founder and CEO. She's Miss Make It Happen. She puts on these events, and we're very thankful to have her. We have our CEO, Jovi. She's over here doing the damn thing. She has her own YouTube series that, it talks about her journey into getting into software engineering. And I hope that y'all take the time to check that out, because it's really dope information. And it's really showing you that no matter where you are, you can start. And of course, there's just me. I'm just here for the show, just here. And so, oh, look at that. And so now I just want to tell you about joining the team. We are in need of really video editors, a social media manager, a grant sponsorship specialist, and an email support specialist. But please, y'all, if y'all know somebody who's interested in doing social media, learning more about it, or delving more into that career, I hope that y'all will take the time to, tell them about this, because we really try to do a lot here, and we really would love to help. We would love for you to be a part of this. Now, did anyone in the comments say free career coaching? Because guess what? I got something for y'all right here. Join us at the Mentor Me Collective, where we are hosting our event that will open around Q3 of this year. Free mentorship, free career coaching. Trust me, as someone who's done some of it, it's helped me tremendously, not only in my job search, but just as my growth as a person, and just building the self-confidence in myself to really go after the career I want. I hope you'll take the time to join us and really participate in that. Some dope people and a lot of dope mentorship that's going on. And in this space, mentorship is very valuable. And if you're interested in becoming a mentee or a mentor, please take a look at one of these links right here and just sign up. Please, I'm telling you, it's free. It costs nothing. Shoot your shot. And here's how to opt into our text reminders. You can text MMC to 866-901-1914. And we'll only text you events when we're having, we'll only text you about the events we're having, the giveaways we're having. So we won't be, on your screen, on your phone all the time, just when we have something major going on. And I would love for y'all to visit our Etsy shop. We have a lot of dope wares. We're really trying to showcase the women's in tech and just women in general, because this is Women's History Month. We want to continue to celebrate all of y'all. Love is an action word is one of our popular items. So please, if you have some free time and you're feeling generous, just check it out. But what would be an MMC event without a drum roll? An MMC giveaway. That's right, y'all. We giving away free stuff, and here's how you can enter. One, just attend all the sessions and bring a friend if you can. And so, we know people. Sometimes they don't show up, but bring yourself. That's all you need. Company of one. Grab your pen and your notebook. Make sure you're taking notes. Make sure that you connect with us on all social media platforms like LinkedIn and Instagram, especially, because that's where we do a lot of our announcements. And just complete our online quiz. Simple. If you come to the sessions and you've been learning, trust me, you'll see a lot of the same information. And again, this is just a reminder, but we also have a photo booth. Just take your phone right here, scan the QR code, and it'll show you what we can do. And trust me, it's a really dope filter, y'all. Really participate in it. And again, just take notes to complete the online quiz. Just visit our Instagram, tag some friends. And lastly, again, text MMC to 866-901-1914. And these are just some of the giveaways. Apple released the AirTags very recently. Very dope thing. We have a HomePad Mini. We have a Hydrate water bottle. They try to make it fun. It really just tracks your water intake. You can go with friends. You can see who's drinking the most water. Turn it into a game, however you want to do it. And we have some Nanoleaf smart light bulbs. But without further ado, y'all didn't come here to see me talk all day and night. Y'all came here to see the two lovely ladies who are making this event happen. So once again, I want to introduce you to my CEO and one of my favorite people, Miss Chanel Powers.
Hello, everyone.
See, just a dope smile. And also, our COO, another one of my favorite people, Mrs. Make It Happen Jr., Javon Cameron.
Absolutely. Hey, Javon.
You're so silly. Hey, girl. How was everybody?
Doing good, y'all. It's been a long week, but we're pushing.
We're pushing through. It has been a long week, but we're still making it happen.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Excited to see y'all, though.
Definitely. It's always good when I can see y'all on my screen. Always.
Period.
Absolutely.
So I know we talked a little bit, but why don't you give the people just a little bit about yourself before we dive into some of these questions? Because I'm sure they want to know more about you and why you do what you do.
Absolutely. Well, hello, everyone. Again, my name is Chanel. I am the CEO and founder of the Mentor Me Collective. By day, I'm a software engineer in tech, and I am fulfilling my passion, really where I just really want to see more people of color within the Latinx and Black community win. And so I'm excited to be on the screen today. I previously did a lot of that, but these days I am loving seeing my other awesome folks on the team do that. And so, today we really want to make sure that we are honing in on just giving you all the tools to really make sure that you're succeeding in your career, especially in software engineering. I feel like there's so many nuances to the space that if you don't know, you just won't know. But we want to make sure that we're giving you all the tools to win. And so, I'm grateful for this session here that actually was formulated and created by the next wonderful, wonderful woman who is going to speak, Jovi.
Hey, guys. I'm Javon, also known as Jovi. I am the COO of Mentor Me Collective, and by day, I'm a software engineer and a content creator. Like Dom said before, I have my own YouTube channel that kind of goes through my journey as a software engineer, trying to help a lot more women of color get into the space. So that is why I'm so glad to be part of the Mentor Me Collective. This is like my baby. Listen. It's always a good time over here. So just to give a little bit of context, my journey into becoming a software engineer it definitely wasn't linear. And I don't feel like we can have a 2-week series talking about software engineering and not at least talk about the process of interviewing. And I really wanted to get into the nitty gritty of what it's like to do these software engineer interviews. So just so that people can go in level-headed and know what they're signing up for. Like I said, just for a little bit of background, my first ever software engineer interview was with Spotify, and I was so unprepared. I had no idea what I was getting myself into. Um, Luckily, I made it like all the way up until like almost the last round, 8 interviews later. But I didn't know I was getting into that. So I really want to just equip you guys to be able to have success by just through knowledge. So yeah.
And that's what we love to see. Y'all drop some fire emojis in the chat, drop the cool spawn in your crib, do all that because we really want to show these ladies love for taking the time to really, give us information,
Mhm.
especially when it comes to getting into tech. So I remember when we spoke before, we talked about career transitions, and this was some time ago. And so I want y'all to elaborate on how did y'all transition from your previous careers into tech, because a lot of people in our community are those career pivoters, and this is a very new place for them.
You can go first.
Yeah, sure. So previously, I was a paraprofessional. For those who don't know what a paraprofessional is, it's basically like a teacher's aide. I was in the education field for about 5 years working with children on the spectrum, and I definitely wanted a change. So I decided to pivot into the tech industry around the time that the pandemic happened. Um, and it's been a journey ever since. I was able to become a software engineer a little over 6 months. So that transition has been wild, but I just part of my journey and my mission is to help equip Black women to be able to do the same thing.
Honestly, plus one to all of that. My journey also was very nonlinear. I really thought originally that I was going to become a neurosurgeon. I'm going to go into medicine. I was really passionate about the medical space, also neuroscience. A lot of folks in my family had suffered from addiction, and I just really wanted to come up with ways that were minimally invasive or non-invasive methods in terms of surgery to help folks with addictions. And so that was the majority of my earlier career in terms of research and computational web bench, the mice and all that kind of stuff. All that was a part of the space. But I can say that throughout the journey, indirectly, I was actually learning software engineering. I was doing it for health applications, so like predicting cancerous cells, also creating computational code to different kinds of scripts, right, to compile all of our research data. Didn't know that by me studying all these things that it would be because I was supposed to get to this space. So I just want to encourage you all in knowing that maybe right now you're not sure as to why there were so many different random spaces or random blocks in your life where you did so many different things, and you're just like, when is this all going to make sense? But I just want to encourage you that it will make sense later on down the road, and that's exactly what it was for me. And so all that training back then, where I was doing the software computational analysis, the statistical modeling, all that kind of stuff, now I'm able to utilize those techniques and those tools in the role that I am currently in. And again, the program languages also was a foundation as well. So I just want to encourage you guys to know that it's okay. It takes time. You will learn and grow. This is a professional career where you have to become a professional learner. That for me at first was very hard because I'm like, man, I just like to master and then just kind of coast. Absolutely not. And so that's okay because again, like if the biggest thing is for you to be open to learning, be open to the growth, know that you're always going to be in spaces where there may be a lot more smarter people than you, but that's okay. You know what I mean? The fact is that you're there, and that means that you are worthy, you are qualified, and you are enough to take up that space and to be your most authentic self. So I hope that also answered your question, Dom.
Oh, it did beautifully. Actually, I was very much looking forward to this answer. And what I liked about both of y'all was y'all both came from spaces where y'all were helping people. And now, even as y'all go into these new spaces, y'all main concern is still about helping people. And that's what it takes. It takes the community, it takes the village for us to really help out with all that we do here. And so, I'm happy you told us about y'all journey. But then I kind of want to know a little bit more about your interviewing process because the joke around here is getting the tech job is more hard, is more difficult rather than the job itself. And so one of the
Listen.
questions that I that I have to, I would want y'all to answer is, how do you separate yourself as a candidate in the behavioral interview? Because no matter which field you go into, we have to hear those behavioral questions. But how is it different in tech versus every other industry?
Hmm. I'm gonna take this one, and then I'm gonna pass the time over to Jovi as well. Would love to hear her thoughts. But behavioral is, I mean, I think it's just as important as the technical, right? Because in this day and age, we have so many folks that are looking for software engineering jobs, and so the bare minimum is no longer do you know how to code. It's are you also a likable person, and will you approach different kinds of human situations as a pure-hearted human? And I think you'll notice that a lot of questions that are asked is, tell me about a time when you handled this situation. Tell me about a time when you maybe felt this emotion, like how did you get through this? Or tell me about a time when you needed to communicate and how did you, kind of go through that space. So I think it's important for us to really make sure that we are taking just as much time as we are in studying leak code, cracking the code interview chat, all those other tips and tricks, videos, honey, games. It's important that we also do the same, for the tech, for the behavioral. So I'm gonna pass it on over to Joby.
Yeah. I am not as skilled as Chanel with these behavioral answers. But I know for me, when I was breaking into the industry, I was super nervous about being able to kind of like show the transition in my skills, because I know a lot of people looked at my resume and was like, you work with kids on the spectrum. Like, how is that gonna help? But what I didn't, what I decided to do was kind of leverage that, because working with kids on the spectrum, listen, you are a master. Like, you're ready for anything. You're super flexible. You think on your feet. You're extra quick with the solutions. You are a master problem solver, and that's exactly what engineers do. Just kind of like piggybacking off of what Chanel said earlier. You are not. I'm gonna say this till my face turns blue. You're not paid for what you know. You're paid for how you learn.
Mm-hmm.
You do not get paid for, like, okay, you can regurgitate different facts and you know how to do certain things. Like, you are paid for what you how you can learn. So I was able to take my experiences. I like to separate myself by using some of my craziest experiences and telling them how I got out of that experience, and
Mm-hmm.
letting them know, like, you know, this is nothing new to me. I'm not phased by anything that can kind of seem to throw other people off. I automatically go into problem solving mode. And that's essentially what they want to see. So, yeah, that's how I separate myself. I tell some crazy stories, and all the recruiters and the interviewers, they remember me. So,
Listen,
That's so
you are a
cool.
character. You are a character, but that was perfect. But then I kind of want to go deeper. So, Javon, I would like to lead you to lead this question.
uh-huh.
You talked about it briefly, but could you go more about how you used your background to kind of leverage yourself into this new space?
Absolutely. So, like I said, I used a lot of examples because I wanted to kind of paint a picture of what type of person I was. I knew that for any job, to be successful in any job, you need to be a people person, and you need to be able to work with a team, and that's exactly what I did at my last job. And I was able to kind of let use examples to let them know, like, hey, this is what I do. I think one example that I used in an interview was trying to help um, a student eat rice.
Mm.
It was so like out of this world. So the interviewer is looking at me like, what? I was like, let me explain. Don't worry. Uh, like I had a student once that wanted to. The mom wanted him to eat rice, and that was super important to her. And after having a candid conversation with mom and letting her know, like, hey, we might have to switch around our priorities just a little bit. Do you want him to eat rice, or do you want him to use the bathroom? So it's just like being able to have that conversation with her, let the interviewer know, okay, like, she's able to speak to stakeholders, she's able to see what's super important. Do you want to She's able to weigh the pros and cons and do decision making, and do it pretty quickly. So, and that was what I really wanted her to see. And the Bryce story was enough for her to email me back and tell me, like, I really love that story you told about the rice. And she remembered me. So that's pretty much how I was using my experience. Mm-hmm.
That's so cool. Y'all, I wish I had stories like that. Like that's amazing. I can as I have been also on like interviewing panels, it's always the folks who have like the interesting correlation of stories, even down to even the inflection and tone. And voices are the folks that I really remember. So definitely want to say +1 to that. I think on my end, I really like to hone in on folks that give a linear story. A lot of times, maybe because we're nervous, we kind of speak in a scattered way. And so the ways that I have been able to really coach and mentor my mentees when it comes to getting these new roles and jobs in tech is to have them write down scripts, right? I think, again, going back to practice about these questions, write down how you would want to ask. Because as you have time to think, right, you're not thinking on the spot. It's not like you've got 30 minutes set, go. You're able to say, okay, how can I really be intentional about how I want to answer this question? And then you're able to write down a couple of sentences, making sure you're not talking too long. It will fit between a maybe 2 to 3 minute space. And also you have the ability also to connect with your mentor or like any person that you trust and say like, hey, does any of this make sense? Or like, how does this also sound to you? So I think it's important, like Jovi said, also to have interesting stories, but also to make sure that your stories are very linear. It doesn't sound scattered. You're pacing yourself as well. And you are writing down those scenarios as well. I think there's like so many different questions online. We can Google, like even from Indeed. Indeed has a lot of good questions, interviewing questions for behavioral. And then also you can kind of go from there.
Oh yes, and that's very solid advice because when I get nervous, I ramble on and on. Even though my story has a point, I'm giving you far too many details. So just being able to take a deep breath and just sit and really focus, having a script or at least rehearsing, I think does a lot for just the average person. That certainly has helped me. That's one of the tricks that I used before. I know I have an interview coming up. I have my script. I read it, and I just make sure I know it front and back.
There you go.
Oh, and I'm very happy. And so this actually kind of segues into another question that I have actually, because, sometimes I feel like when we talk a lot, it's because we have a hard time just speaking or we're trying to avoid speaking about ourselves, especially when they do tell me about a time where you had a disagreement with a coworker or a fellow stakeholder and how did that happen? Or tell me about a time you were displeased with, a project. So how can we better prepare ourselves to just talk about ourselves more without feeling, that fear, that nervousness?
That's a very good question. Did you want to go first, Jimmy?
I'm gonna leave that one to you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think in these kinds of questions, specifically like tell me about a time when you had or struggled to build a relationship with a coworker. Tell me about a time when you had to communicate to a frustrated stakeholder. Stakeholder is also just fancy term for saying like someone important on the team or that had like just as equal amount of say in a project as you, right? That's what a stakeholder is. It took me forever to figure that one out. But anywho, Tech got all these extra fancy words on. I just need you to speak English.
Yeah.
But anywho, yes, all those questions are very important because they want to, again, understand how you are a person. Like, how human are you, to be honest? They want to see, one, are you going to be someone that is able to work on a team of different people with different cultures and personalities? But also they want to see how you, also, I think down to what Jovi was saying in regards to like, how do you break down these problems in your mind and then approach them? So everything really, I love to think of it almost like as a reverse engineered way. And in tech, one of our chief pillars is always assume positive intent. That is not always how we are raised or grow up, or how we grow up. Especially, I'm a New Yorker, so child, we fight first and then ask later. But it's important for us to have that space to really give people space for grace. And so, in those kinds of questions, you want to say, well, I can recall a couple of times, as you can imagine, working for this amount of years and having this amount of tenure in the space. you're always going to have different folks with different cultures, different methods of communication, and just different experiences. And so I always want to approach a situation with giving them extended grace and assuming positive intent. That's literally the first thing that they were looking for you to say. Then you can say, instead of me initially wanting to act out of emotion, I might want to understand them in an empathetic way. And maybe they haven't been, responding to my messages, perhaps because there's family emergency going home. Maybe they haven't been able to check out my emails because there's something more traumatic happening with their children. So I always like to extend myself in a way of first asking, hey, how's everything going? Is there anything that I can help you with to take off your plate? And again, that means that you're going to first go to them before you even go to management, right? And honestly, 90% of the issues that you may even have can be dealt with right in that moment, from you taking initiative to just humble yourself and going and asking them, like how have things been going, and not even to be like on some, I know you see my message, stop playing with me. Hey, Susan, yeah, we haven't spoken in a while. So how are you? Yeah, wow, that's been happening. Oh my gosh, yeah, I've been messaging you, but don't even worry about that. No, that's important, because then you can now be human and understand that if that was me, and if I had an issue, like for instance, obviously COVID was a really huge thing these past 2 years. A lot of people were dealing with it in different ways. So it's important for us again to understand that we're not living or we weren't living in normal times back then. Right now, things are kind of simmering. But again, just assume positive intent and lead with that in your answers. So, yeah.
Yeah. It's a really good answer. I'm a plus one that. So we could just. I'm like ready to take notes off of what you just said.
Oh my goodness, y'all! This is good. I tell you, when I first started this stint, honey, of interviewing, because interviewing in tech is way different than health, right? Medicine, even down to like how you even dress for these interviews in medicine, honey. You got to come up full on suit, skirt, all that. In tech, honey, you're doing too much if you come up in here like that. So I think it's important also for us to understand like what reading the room looks like, understanding the culture of your company as well, because as you understand the culture of your company that you're interviewing with and understand their values, you'll be able to take that into your responses as well. Absolutely. So y'all, we ain't doing this for truthers. Absolutely.
Wow, so that was a really beautiful answer. And so something that you highlighted on, because we are still dealing with COVID, we are still dealing with the world around us. So it makes it hard for us to focus. And even though we just had, something about mental health, I want to know too, how do y'all mentally prepare for y'all interviews? Like, what are some of the things that y'all do to put y'all in a positive space and say, I know I can do this. I know I'm going to ace this. I got this.
You want me to take it?
We would like to hear you.
Yeah. So, that's a really good question. I'm going to break it down into two parts. So, like, just physically, I make sure my space is clear. I have like notes. I'm fully prepared. My laptop is charged if it's a virtual interview. But I would like to say that mentally, I read a lot of scriptures. Annie up with those scriptures, like stay strapped. Like I have scriptures for every type of question I may get, every type of anxiety that I might be feeling. So that's probably one of the first things I do. But other than that, it would be just to kind of prepare, make sure I'm calm, I'm relaxed, because one thing too that I didn't know until after a couple of interviews, it's okay to be nervous. It's very okay to be nervous. They know that you're nervous, but it's not okay to show it. They don't really care when you're showing it, because it's like they're looking at that interview as like, this is how you're going to be when you're working with me. And if you're going to be a nervous wreck, I don't know. If you're going to be a nervous wreck every time we talk, you got to be careful. So I try my best to be as calm as possible. And if you're nervous, just take a second and like pause.
Regroup.
regroup. Like, don't, if they ask you a question and you just become like, you're just regurgitating stuff, like take a second, like, take a deep breath and then answer the question. It actually makes you look better when you pause and then answer the question than rather than just spewing at the mouth. But that's kind of the way that I prepare. And then I guess for after the interview, I guess I would say mentally, I just say to myself, if it's for me and it's in God's will, I'm good. Nothing's going to pass me. That's for me. So just by having that mindset and going in with that, if it's a rejection, it's literally just protection. So it's fine. So it's fine if I don't get this job. There will be more. So that's how I pretty much prepare.
I love that. Honestly, plus one. I was definitely going to say the scriptures as well, and prayer is very important. As you know, this is a faith-based company, but I think it's also important for you to make sure that you're physically prepared. When I say physically, I mean, now we're interviewing at home and all that kind of stuff. Get up and take a shower. Don't just throw stuff on. You feel better if you get up and you're clean. Your face is washed clean. You're moisturized. The melanin is popping. You'll feel very confident. You know what I mean? The lips are moisturized. I think those are also very important little details, because as a software engineer, you have to be meticulous. You aren't just out here just developing stuff and you're throwing it to the users. Absolutely not. For instance, my company is very famous for how we really look into the smaller details. And so I'm going to say, like, within big tech companies, we want to know that you have that eye too. And how do we know that? First, by how you look. Are you together? Do you look clean? Is everything like, are there no things on you that are distraction or that could make us, kind of confused as to understanding, like, how did you get here type thing. We want to make sure that you're looking good and looking at your optimum best. So, take a shower, y'all. Put on some really good, clean clothes. You know what I'm saying? Spray yourself with some perfume, your favorite perfume or cologne. You know what I mean? Get yourself in the zone. You're like, I know I look good. I know I smell good. So you're ready to perform in a really great and confident way. I know for me, when and I'm saying this because, child, I've been there. I'm gonna say maybe like even before I got the role with my current company, I was interviewing at different companies, and again, this is at home and stuff like that. And I forgot to moisturize my lips. And when I tell you the whole interview, I was like, every 5 seconds, it's like, sis, are you okay? You know what I mean? So the same way we have to, and I'm saying this again, I want to be very real, because I feel like sometimes we miss over the small things. Make sure that nothing can have you in a space where you are distracted, you or the other person, okay? And so again, that comes with making sure that you are physically prepared and ready, and as you have already mentally and spiritually prepared yourself as well.
Yeah, I kind of want to add something real quick to what you said with the environment. Y'all, if y'all got some unruly pets, my God, please, please, if you got the cat that likes to walk across the keyboard, you got the dog that's barking every time the mailman comes, and you're deep into conversation with your interviewer, listen, try your best, please, to try to just minimize all distractions, even if you got to go like in the basement somewhere. It's probably somewhere with some good lighting. Okay, let's get some decent lighting. You want them to see you. Make sure they can hear you clearly. Make sure your internet is up and running. So environment is huge. It's huge. You don't want to be like, what was that? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't hear you. That's only good to pull if it's like you don't know how to answer the question. You might be like, I'm sorry. Could you just repeat that? My bad. And then while he's repeating it, you're thinking of an answer. You know what I'm saying? But that's a for later. But yeah.
Not like you calling out Orion walking across that. Look, I'm not gonna lie, y'all. My cat be thinking she ruled his house. Okay, so sometimes I gotta be, you know what I'm saying? She gotta be in a nice, secure location. Absolutely. So that's hilarious. But over to you, Dominic. I know we take it.
No. It's perfectly fine. I think the audience is really loving all that you have to say, and I'd like how y'all tied in, mental, physical, and environmental health, because no one wants to be in a noisy area where they can't concentrate. So, tell a little solo pop over there he gotta go somewhere for a little bit, just a little bit. But now, since we talked about, the behavior and everything, now I want to get into a couple of more technical questions about it, specifically when it comes to coding, right? So how do y'all go about preparing for your coding interview and they ask you a question, but you might not know the answer?
That's a really good question. So, like I said before, you don't want to show that you're nervous. You might be nervous on the inside, but you don't want to show that you're nervous, right? So I would say if you don't know the answer, the first step to getting any question whenever you're doing an algo or a data structure problem, you need to make sure that you're asking questions. Ask questions. That's the first step. Do not touch that algo without asking questions, right? You want to ask them specific questions about the problem, and then you would probably go in with some pseudocode, kind of plan out the problem, so that they know in their heads, like, okay, not only did they ask questions, but they have some sort of a plan to kind of go through this and see how it would be laid out. So even if you don't make it through the full problem, they know how you would go through it if you had the chance. So because you usually get about 30 to 45 minutes per interview for your algos and data structures. But the first 15 is like your keying, like the introductions, tell me about yourself, this, that, and the third. So you really have about 30 minutes to solve the algo. But if you get an algo and you're just not sure what to do, you'll ask questions, you'll pseudocode. You can even say, this is kind of challenging. I remember having a problem, something similar to this, and the team that I worked on, boom, you're already letting them know you worked with a team on hard problems like this. When you get that job, you're not going to be working on the hard stuff by yourself. So if you can let them know, like, oh yeah, I remember when I worked on something similar to this during a project I had, and this is how we went about it. Do you think that's a good direction to go in? They'll answer you.
They sure will.
They'll answer you. They'll be like, oh, okay, yeah. I think that might work. You pseudocode it out. And then once you make your plan, you do the parts that you know. So usually what you do is like brute force. And for those who might not know, brute force is just getting the problem solved. It's probably not the best way to solve the problem. It's not the most efficient way to solve the problem, but it's solved. And then you go back and refactor. But if you don't even know how to do brute force, it's just like, okay, like this problem is out of control. I don't know what I'm doing. You really want to take a moment to just, like I said, solve what you know. Break down the question. And kind of give, like, for example, if the question says given n number of such and such, or given a string or something like that, already that they're giving you a string. Like, okay, cool. They're giving me a string. They're giving me a number. They're giving me something. Return blank. So in that one line, you already know what you have to return and you know what you're giving. So you should write that down automatically. So it lets them know, like, okay, she has a process. There's a structure. She gets it. She understands it. This is how she would go about it, even though she didn't finish it. She or he, sorry.
I think that's awesome. And I plus 1,000 to that. The one thing that I really, really look for is folks who really just slow down, folks who don't just jump into the problem. I think that's like one of the things that we don't really talk a lot about when it comes to like preparing for these interviews. We want to know that you're a collaborative person. And so back to what Jovi was saying in regards to like hinting with certain ways of answering, like, oh, when I was in a team, we did it like this, or when I was in a team, I asked these kinds of questions, whatever. That's really good too. But also saying like, well, I just want to make sure that I'm like, again, clearly understanding the problem. And then like Jovi said too, you're breaking it down. Now, in person, you would have to do this on a whiteboard. I think now everything is like on like a different like Google Doc or something, or maybe like in a coding
Editing.
collaborative space, right? Like Coder Pad or something like that. But it's important for you to be able to comment out like your thought process, and to kind of speak to that as well. I think it's also important for you, like Jovi said, pseudocode, and just do again the parts that you know. You don't have to answer the question fully. I think that also is something that is a misconception, that you have to fully answer a question. I can remember going through my interviews and maybe having like one or two interviews where I couldn't, I was like, but the person, because of the conversation that we were having, I was able to talk through my possible solution, or I was able to comment through, and then from that instruction, I was able to create a solution. So I just want you all to know that it's not that important for you to be finishing. We want you to finish, but we want you to be just as much as communicative as possible, too, for sure, for sure, for sure.
Touching on a lot of excellent points. I wish I knew more technical information just so I could delve deeper into those questions. But throughout y'all speaking, it gave me pause, and I was like, I wonder. Well, I know that you ladies have interviewed at probably millions and millions of companies. I'm exaggerating, obviously. But can you tell us, like, what are the differences when you interview at, say, a Spotify, a Facebook, or Apple, or anything like that, versus some of the smaller, maybe startup companies? Like, is there any noticeable difference, or are they about the same in quality questions?
Hmm.
That's a great question.
Mm-hmm. I will go first, and I'm gonna pass the baton on Jovi. Uh,
Mhm.
Being in one of the big tech companies, I feel like there's a misconception that the interviews are going to be so challenging to the point where you're not good enough.
Mhm.
A lot of the basic information and the basic questions that you're going to get asked in other interviews, we're also going to ask the same things. It may be a longer stint, or like a longer period. Um, like instead of it being maybe like a 1 week's worth of interviews, maybe it'll be a span of, four. Four is a really generous number. Maybe like 6 to 8, over a span of a month. You know what I mean? So it might be like that, but you'll have again workable problems. So I think one misconception is always just like the kind of problems, how much you have to overstudy to get these problems, and also like how long it takes to get through the process. I'm gonna pass it on over to Jovi.
Yeah. So I want to point out some small differences because I've interviewed for both big companies and smaller companies. So some smaller companies, some startups, they don't do algos and data structures. Very few of them,
Mhm.
but some of them don't do it. So I would say if you are interviewing with a smaller company, you may or may not get an algo, but if you don't get an algo, you'll get a take home challenge, which is like a really good way of like seeing what you're capable of without the pressure of the algos and data structures. And then you also will not get a systems design problem for most people, for most smaller companies. So systems design is usually what bigger tech companies use. FANG companies, just big tech companies in general, they use systems design as part of some of their on-sites, and it's just basically high level. How would you go about building out a feature, or how would you go about technically doing something? So, like, let's say you're doing an interview for Google or something, or Facebook, and you have a systems design interview. They want to know, how would you handle heavy traffic on the page? How would you deal with databases? What databases are you hitting? They want to know, how would you go about building out a specific feature? All those different things. That's like in a nutshell what designs system is all about. But I feel like with the bigger companies, you're gonna get the algos for sure. You're gonna get the systems design questions. With the smaller companies, you might get an algo, you might not get an algo. But if you don't, you'll have a take home challenge. And please, please, please do your best on those take home challenges. And then yeah. And I would say that the smaller companies are shorter, just like how Chanel said, the bigger companies is like 6 to 8 weeks. She was being generous. There's some companies, I mean, I'm just gonna be honest. I applied to a company and didn't interview for them until like 3 months after. Like that's how much capacity they had. So with the smaller companies, you might just go through for like 2 weeks. So that's basically the difference for that, I would say. I hope that answers the question. Did I answer the question?
No, you did.
I just want to piggyback off what Jovi said too. Like everything she said, 1,000. I want you all to know that you don't have to interview alone. A lot of, especially the larger tech companies or any company, child, if they're on LinkedIn, you can find other people that's on LinkedIn too. Connect with people who are in those same roles at the company that you're about to interview for, because they're gonna give you the whole tea. They're gonna tell you, this is what you need to know, this is what you don't need to know. This is the person you may see, this is the person you don't want to see. If you see this person, how to say these words, and that gives you another cheat code to being successful. Absolutely. Do not be prideful in wanting to ask for help. I did not get here by myself alone, and neither did my constituents to the left and to the right. So I want you to know also that it is not expected for you to do this as well by yourself and on your own. So please take time, do your research. Once you get that email saying, hey, we'd like to schedule time with you, I know it's exciting, take it all in. But before you schedule, you know what I mean? Take maybe like 24 hours, and in those 24 hours, go on LinkedIn, put in software engineer at whatever company, find people that you think that you will connect with, add them like crazy. Don't add one and be like, oh my gosh, they didn't add me back. Child, success is in the numbers, okay? Add at least 100. I promise you at least 10 is going to get back to you quickly, okay? So do it like that in an automated way. Have a nice note. Hey, I just recently got an invitation to interview at your company. Would love to connect with you on some tips to really best prepare myself. Once they see that you're not, and it's a shame, we need to do better in tech. But normally when we see that you already made it, then we'd be like, okay, well, that's half the process. Let me help you achieve the rest. Sometimes you get overwhelmed by the referral request because it's just a lot. If y'all see my inbox, y'all would understand. But once you pick me up and tell me, you interview my company, you just need, honey, I'm out here looking for people left and right. So I just want to encourage you all to ask for help, lean in to those spaces, and take time for yourself to do that and find some folks to help you.
Telling you, this girl made it. She's dropping gems out here. She's putting on this series, and she got to where she is today because of all the help that she got. So please, all the time, ask for it. We always say, communicate with your needs.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to open the floor up to the audience, and Nico, who has been at a couple of our events, and so has Dominique and Cassandra. I see y'all. Trust me, we always see y'all.
Hey.
We wanted to ask this question. How would you ladies say ENG interviews have changed now that they are mostly remote and not as many on sites?
Oh, Chanel, you want to take that one real quick?
She's asking them hard questions.
You good, Charlie? No, I can go ahead. I think the biggest thing again is just more so like the reliability on your connection, on your presentation. It's just less things. It's more. It's less of like getting there on time and like whatever. Like obviously you want to log in on time to your virtual interview, but I think it's the little things that they're going to be paying more attention to, like how well you look, how well you present, how clear you communicate. You don't have as many materials or different kinds of devices, right, to like do work on. Like for instance, there's no whiteboard. There's no whiteboard markers and all those kinds of things, and you don't have the time to turn around and, well, what do you think, Chuck? You don't got time for that. So you really have to make sure that you are making the most out of like this online space. If that means that you need to have your iPad ready to go, like connected to your display so that you can write your problem down on notes that they can virtually see, that's something. If you have another kind of like tablet and you can be able to do that as well, that's fine. That's something that I was able to do when I was doing my engineering interviews, I was able to connect like a different device and kind of write down my notes in that way so that they can see my process of thinking. I think right now with whiteboarding problems that you got to drag your cursor and all of that. I didn't have time for that. I was like, let me just find an iPad, find a stylus if you have that, because everybody don't got that, honey. But if you have that, you want to kind of lean into that and just make sure that you create your environment to be as conducive for you to win as possible. I think Joby mentioned this too in terms of like just making sure everything is clean. You want to make sure that you have a like working pen or whatever. Like, don't be leaning over and then, oh my gosh, my soda just spilled. Like that's a lie. You're doing a lot. So clean, clear, you know what I'm saying, conducive, clean, clear. Okay, girl, 3 C's. And I think I'm gonna end it on that note and pass it on over to Joby.
Yeah. I can't really talk about in-person interviews as much because all of my interviews have been since we've been remote. But I will say that I noticed that companies that do whiteboarding challenges, kind of like Chanel said, they have they use Google Docs. So you don't get no code editor. You don't get it don't tell you if the semicolon is in the wrong place. You know, it's all with Google Docs. And what they do is they copy what's on Google Docs and they put it into their code editor and then they run it. So with that being said, uh, be prepared if that's the case too. But you can also be prepared by, like I said, asking questions. You can ask the recruiter who reached out to you for the job, like, hey, is there a whiteboarding session? What code editor do you guys use? And go and familiarize yourself with those tools before you show up to the interview. I was going to say the internet. Before you show up to the interview, ask them what they're using. What code editor do you use? What is this? How is this gonna work? Even ask them if the interview is gonna be ran on Zoom or not, because other companies, not all companies use Zoom. Some companies have their own thing. And some companies are also tracking what you're doing while you're doing the interview. So it's kind of like you just have to kind of be prepared. And the best way you can do that is by asking the recruiter. As far as on-sites go, they do have virtual on-sites. So it's basically where you're spending the whole day, like a whole work day with them. And you have about up to 5 interviews, 2 algos, 2 algos, a behavioral, and then a systems design usually is how it runs for the bigger companies. So I would say the best way to do that, I remember for some interviews, and this is a major key. I hope nobody that I'm hoping to work for is going to see this, but
They gonna see.
have your notes. Just have your notes, okay? Like if you are somebody that gets very nervous and you forget how to do the absolute small things, it's okay to have a little card on the side that says, remember to write a function first. Something like that, you know, prepare yourself. And you can even ask them, hey, is it okay if I look up a method? Like I know I'm supposed to be doing an array method for this. I don't remember the exact name, but I want to make sure it's the right one. Do you mind if I look it up? You're sharing your screen anyway, so they're gonna see if you looking up something crazy. So you say, okay, how do I do this array method? What's a splice against a split or something like that? You can do that. Some companies will allow you to do that. So that's what I would say is slightly the difference. Just come prepared. Stay ready so you ain't got to get ready.
I love that. I just want to plus one that because when I was actually interviewing for the role that I had now, there was a problem that I had to access something within a list of lists. So like I had to do a nested for loop. I think, child, don't judge, but I think it's a nested for loop. Anywho, I was trying to figure out like, okay, like how do I get those key values? Oh, it was a dictionary actually. See, all these other things. So I was like trying to make sure as well because the code itself wasn't working. But in my case, I had the correct terminology, but my interviewer was like, I don't know why it's not working. So we both searched it together and we said, maybe like, you know, there was something else wrong with the platform at that time. But anyway, it's always good for you to ask to Google and all that kind of stuff because you never know how that can also give you a thumbs up that you didn't know what you were saying.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, real quick. If you like, let's say you get into the interview and you didn't look up the the type of coding editor,
Mhm.
and you don't really know the coding editor like that, do like a dummy function so that you know that the editor is working. So like if you're a JavaScript girl and you want to make like they give you a thing and they're like, hey, do you mind if I do like a quick thing to make sure I even structure this function right? You'll do make your function console log this. If you're a Python girl, print this, make sure it's doing what you expect so that that is not the reason that your code is not working. Because sometimes you'll be having the right thing, but it's something wrong with the editor. So you might as well check that first. So that's my other note.
And what you're saying, for those of you who may not be familiar with those terms, is allowing your code to like making it step through each action. So if
Yeah.
you're starting off with like getting a user input, you want it to print, whatever the user's input is. If it's starting with like putting that user's input into a function, like with a parameter, print what that parameter is. So parameter is words. So you're able to visually see whether or not, again, that if it's working.
Yeah.
Right. So in other words, be resourceful. Use everything available to you, whatever they allow.
Mhm.
That's what we like to hear. So Miss Cassandra writes, is it normal to get offered an online coding challenge and then an interview based on your results, or does the interview come first?
That's a very good question.
Very.
Yeah, that depends on the company.
Mm-hmm.
Usually, like, you'll speak to a recruiter or a hiring manager first,
Mm-hmm.
and get to, and, like, they'll talk to you a little bit about the role and get to know you and stuff like that.
That's what they're
Um,
supposed to do. I know some of them be out here that I can get them. But some
what
of them,
happened?
I said that's exactly what they're supposed to
That's
do.
what they're supposed. Yes, that's what they're supposed to do. Some people just be sending you coding challenges just to send you a coding challenge.
Mhm.
I personally avoid those companies, but I still say go for it and do the coding challenge anyway.
Mhm.
But usually you speak to a hiring manager first,
Mhm.
and then you get the coding interview, and then you'll still get another interview after that, going over the take home challenge that you did.
Yeah,
Is that, are you talking about? I hope she's talking about take home challenges.
I think that's exactly what she said.
Yeah, yeah. Hmm.
Like Joey said, it's supposed to be where the recruiter or hiring manager reaches out to you first. Then they send you that coding challenge. And then from there, based upon like if they feel like you solved it in the way that they'd like, then they'll move you on to like the virtual on-sites or whatever the case may be. So yeah, absolutely. Mhm. Ooh.
So like how y'all was very thorough with that too. Okay. Well, now Nico asked another good question that I wanted to highlight. Do y'all have any recs for beginners that can learn to, this different styles of interviewing?
For systems
Yes,
design,
for system design.
for systems design, that's honestly a good Google. You can. I used to look at a lot of YouTube videos,
Mhm.
and like common Fang systems design interviews, like the questions that come up. I also used to read this book called Hacking Cracking the Code Interview. It's
Mm.
this big, thick book, Bible-like book. And that also goes through systems design a little bit and has a couple of questions from some of the most big tech companies.
Mhm.
Um, let me see what else. I think they have some other websites, but they're not coming to my memory as of now. But like I said, they're all a Google away. Look for them, and then look for them in your uh like the way that you'll understand it, like your language or whatever. So
Mhm.
I would say this though. The good thing about systems design is that you can take a specific part of it and run with it. Like, for example, if you have a systems design question that says, make me a badge system, or recreate, I've gotten this one before, recreate Facebook's timeline. Bruh, that is something that you can get on an interview. Don't jump right into it. Obviously, that interview should be all questions. It should be all questions. You should be questioning them to death about how to go about this and what do you think about this and what do you think about that. So if you're a front end engineer, you would slide your way over and talk about the front end stuff as much as possible. Go where you're comfortable. That's not the time to bring up back end if you don't know back end stuff. If you know back end stuff, you slide on over to that part and you tell them how you would build it out in the back end. So in your respective language. So I would definitely do some Googling and some research on that, because it is a bit intense. Yeah, because it's 45 minutes of just talking. You don't code. So yeah.
+1. Systems design, I'm realizing, is something that's really, really important. And again, like, I'm way non-traditional. I'm from the health space, so just kind of seeing how all of these things fit into the different products that and software that we all use and love is important, y'all. So I know she said, cracking the code interview. I'm a person, I don't be wanting to read them thick books, honey. I need a video. I'm a video kind of gal. So definitely, I know YouTube obviously is amazing. LinkedIn Learning is another opportunity for you to lean into systems design skills, and also like learning as well. And if you have LinkedIn Premium or like some kind of LinkedIn Premium service, you should be able to have LinkedIn Learning for free. And when you finish the course, you get a certificate, right? So that also looks very good on your LinkedIn profile when we're
absolutely. Oh, and I would say to apply what Chanel said earlier. Even when you reach out to people, if the more specific you get, sometimes the better the answer. Like if you reach out to an engineer and say, "Hey, I have a interview coming up, and I really would love to know, what does the systems design interview look like? Is this something, and how can I best prepare for that?" So that's something you can also do. And they should be able to at least give you a little something. Obviously, they can't tell you the questions, but they'll be able to tell you a little something and how you can go through that.
Yeah, I agree.
We love to hear it. So then before we go, I know we have Ashley over here. She just asked this general question. Any tips for designers in tech? And I'm assuming about just the interviews.
Oh, that's a good question. So yeah, I was in the space before engineering. I was in UX research. So for designers, I mean, I don't want to say it's the same, but it's a similar process, right? Because again, you want to reverse engineer your solutions for the users. And again, that takes psychology. I'm kind of thinking about that person. So for those kinds of interviews, which would be heavy in wireframing, A/B testing, they may also be asking you questions along the lines of like, maybe like designing an interface. Again, that's wireframing though. So I think it would be important also for you to utilize LinkedIn Learning. I think that was something also that helped me, even as a UX researcher, to understand how to create my tests for the different software and hardware or software, like interfaces that I was using for my clients who were my users who were like vision impaired, hearing impaired, or even motor impaired. So actually, yeah, I would tell you to lean into that. Also, I mean, there's a lot of different, you know what, this is a shameless plug. We are really about to dive into launching this amazing mentorship program here. I don't know why I didn't start with that, but anyway, it's literally to help folks like yourself, right? To make sure that not only are you getting the career coaching and making sure that your resume looks good, your portfolio looks good, you understand how to do like pass these interviews, behavioral and technical, but you're also coming and going to be paired with a mentor and also like-minded peers as well in small group settings, where you are going to lean into these skills that you need to know, and you'll be able to leave with a project that you can have on your portfolio as well. So not only are you working with like an expert in that field, you're learning these skills, you're honing in on these skills, and also you'll be able to talk about these skills in your interviewing. So for instance, wireframing, you're going to be able to have that session with your mentor, with your, little group of people, 5, I think about, 5 max, you being a part of that 5, and asking all the questions and getting that intimate mentorship and that intimate experience of learning. So I think it's important for you to kind of, again, pour into those spaces. Definitely apply. I think Dominic was talking about that earlier, but if you just joined, you want to type in your browser. Actually, let me type it here, bit.ly/MMC-mentee. And that will allow you and take you directly to our application. We're only taking 40 people though. So literally 10 people in design, 10 people in PM, 10 people in data science, and 10 people in software engineering. So that's open to anyone here who are looking to get into those specific disciplines. Feel free. It's going to be completely free. Completely free. Okay. A 3-month intensive level up. Okay. That's something that you're welcome, Nico. That's something that we specialize in. I've been able to help a lot of people get into tech. I know y'all be one. I don't be saying my numbers, but over 200 plus people get into tech, and we've been able to help them get 6-figure salaries at big tech companies, not small tech. So visit our website to see all the companies where our mentees are and now currently work. And child, that's all I have today for plugging me. But if you guys want to take something too,
please sign up. It's a well program, and y'all getting it for free. These other people paid to get into that program. Y'all getting it for the Frizz Naive. Please sign up.
Not the Frizz Naive.
The Frizz Naive.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I can plus one that for sure. And we will be going deeper into these technical topics and making sure that you guys are ready and prepared for your interviews, because that's our goal. That's part of our mission. We want you to break out into tech and land that 6-figure job. Because, honey, we're not here to leave money on the table.
Absolutely.
So thank you guys for joining us today. We really appreciate it. We want to be mindful of everybody's time. But do us a favor. If you have a friend that's looking to get into tech, if you have a friend that has a coding interview coming up, or just wants an idea of what it's like to go through a software engineering interview, please send them this. Send them the replay. Tell them about our mentorship program. Like we said, it's free. The replay is free. Like, just send it. Give this information. I've told you guys tips that I've even paid for. So, like, listen, come on, just send it out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. Right now you can subscribe. That's also free. Subscribing is free. Also, if you guys can subscribe to my channel too, I get down into the nitty gritty of all these different things about transitioning into the space. So would love for you guys to do that.
Absolutely. Can you drop your link, Jovi, in the
yeah, sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, thank you also very much for tuning in. If you are interested in software engineering, again, this series is continuing. We do have cloud engineering happening tomorrow, Cloud Engineering 101 with Dion from PwC. And next week we have some bomb folks as well from machine learning engineering, data engineering, security engineering, privacy engineering with Google. Child, the list goes on and on. So I definitely want you guys to go ahead and, oh, my bad. I clicked, sorry. Oh, not me click. You go ahead. I want you to go ahead and connect with that. So the mentorship, it's a great question. So it's going to be conducive to it's going to be a personalized experience. So, and I'm going to answer this question and we'll sign off. The mentorship program is personalized to you. So tell us what times work for you. In that application, it gives you all kinds of details. Afternoon, morning, evening, 1 p.m., 2 p.m., what time zone you're in. If you want weekdays or weekends, let us know, because that will help us with pairing you with the right mentor, mentee, or mentor. If you're a mentor on here looking to be a mentor for mentees, you can also apply as well with Bitly. Ooh, I touched something, but if you guys can drop that in the chat to bit.ly/MMC-mentor, that also is free. So y'all can just go ahead and submit the application. We'd love to kind of get in touch with you all as well about that. But yeah, Nico, I hope I answered your question there. But please go ahead and connect with Javon on her YouTube channel. She actually is super dope, and she did it non-linearly. So went from boot camp to getting a job in 6 months.
Amazing.
6 months. We out here in these streets for a whole 12 months. Honey did it in 6. So please lean into her as well. Again, yes, please make sure you comment, and share. Tag a friend and send this over to a friend. Let them know that you all were here as well. But we're so grateful for you all coming about. We see you tomorrow, same time.
Last thing before we go, please sign up for Colors and Convo. Again, if you're looking for a job, if you're trying to meet with recruiters, please sign up. We have some amazing people coming through. We always want to make sure we're helping the community that we serve. So please, please, please sign up for that.
Absolutely. And let me just sorry y'all, I know we're trying to go, but here is the flyer again. I just want you guys to just go again to bit.ly/MMC events. So you guys will notice a pattern, MMC dash something. Here is MMC dash events, and the registration form is live. So if you're all interested, like Dominique just said, submit your resume as well. And yeah, we're looking forward to seeing you all later on this month for Combos in Color with Adobe Design.
It's going to be a dope session, y'all.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You all are so very welcome. We appreciated all of the love and support as well that you all showed and gave. And so, yeah.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.